All right, welcome back to our Frank Talk with Helen Zille. Helen, thank you so much for coming through. As you promised, you would visit at some point. And congratulations on your election as federal chairperson.
Thank you, JJ. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, just to kick us off, Helen, in your view, and if you were to just explain to me in one or two big themes, what occasioned your return to the heart of the DA leadership?
It's a good question. I was really enjoying my life. I started a new media company called the Godzilla Media Group. I was enjoying exploring new forms of information technology and applying myself to them. And I looked with a lot of sadness at the difficulties and the trauma that the DA was going through, and a lot of sadness at what was happening in our by-elections. And I was approached for a long time by many people to return in some way or other. And I said no. I was a very loyal member of the DA. I immediately joined the Bloberg Strand branch, even though I was only living there for a couple of months. I'm only going to be living there for a little while longer. But I love being involved in the DA, and so I joined the branch, and I was very honored to be elected chairperson of the branch. And that was the role I wanted to play in the DA. And then someone contacted me and said, you need to put your hat in the ring for chair of the Federal Council. And I said, oh, leave me alone. And a couple more people phoned and said that. And then I asked my husband, and he said, don't be ridiculous. And then on the very morning of the deadline of those nominations, it was actually my husband who woke up and said, I think you need to throw your hat in the ring. Because you won't be able to rest if you think that you could play a bigger role in supporting and helping the party. And before the end of the day, I decided to put my hat in the ring. That's how it happened.
And you're saying at the center of this is that people who are approaching you saying that, almost feeling your absence. Because remember, you were there, Helen. I mean, I think any serious analyst will tell you that you moved the DA from one position to a higher position than any other leader before you, in terms of, first of all, growing it with significant numbers to be a serious opposition in parliament. Secondly, in broadening its appeal to more South Africans than just, if, for lack of a better description, to a wide, narrow constituency, right? But more importantly, and I believe this, that unlike many leaders, you can't deny that, in fact, you had a hand in succession planning, in actually making sure that someone takes the torch from you when you leave. Given that picture, which is quite a rosy picture for now, if we were to look at what you have been able to do for the DA, right? Is your return, right, a vote of no confidence in your successor in one way or another? Not from you necessarily, I'll come to that, but from those who came to you to say, hey, I think you need to come and plug this hole that may be developing.
Well, I have come back to a very different role. And it's the role of chairperson of the Federal Council. James Self was in that role for 19 years, almost 20 years. And he has become an institution, a legend in the DA, because that is a role that keeps the systems, the structures, the processes functioning. It keeps fair and independent institutions internally working well. It's a very important role, and I think it was that hole that people wanted me to fill.
I see. So are you saying this is less about Musi, it's more about the fact that you had a federal chair, a veteran, who held the party steady through 20 years, and now they're wondering who's going to do this for us now that James Self is gone? Absolutely nothing to do with Musi Maimane.
I think it had to do with the leadership of the party as a whole, the stability, the challenges we've gone through. And I have a huge amount of experience in the party, not only in party structures and systems, but in government. And we have become a party of government. It's no secret that we are facing some challenges, as you always do when you're in government. And I think we want a mixture of young blood, new vision, and experience. I think that that's the combination we're looking for.
Yeah. Were you surprised, given that the DA has punted a big issue about diversity of a party, right? In fact, in your previous Congress, there was a big thing about the diversity clause and so on. And to put it quite simply, you want a DA that appeals to all South Africans, right? Not just white people or black people, but all South Africans. Were you surprised that in all of this diversity that you have managed to infuse into the DA, that there was not a single black person who wanted to stand as federal chair? You had 4 white candidates.
You know, you can't conscript people in a political party. People must make a decision. We've got many black leaders. The vast majority of provincial leaders are black South Africans. Many, many black leaders at different levels of the party. If you want to put your hat in the ring in the DA, you choose to put your hat in the ring. People may ask you and you may say yes or no, but we are not like the ANC where somehow you have to be called by I don't know what force. You have to be anointed or I don't know, called on or deployed or whatever the word is. In the DA, you decide to put your hat in the ring.
Yeah.
And if it happens to be people who are melanin deprived who put their hat in the ring, that's how it is.
Yeah. So you didn't think it's an issue at all? Because I'm asking this because I want to imagine that the strategy document that you and Rian Kutsi and others put together a few years ago, right, was clear that DA has reached its ceiling in terms of its original, or rather its historical constituency, and that it needs to broaden its base if it wants to be a party of government, which is obvious, because if you are going to appeal to white people only, it's only 8% of the population, you are never going to govern the whole of South Africa that way. In other words, there must have been somewhere a conversation about race and how you position yourself to attract all racial groups. So why in this instance would that not even have featured at all in any conversation that says, but we are a diverse party, here we are now, we look like we were not so diverse after all?
Well, there are 2 answers to your question, but the first is that white South Africans are part of that diversity. We are not like the ANC that says you're only diverse if you're 100% black. And that's what the ANC does. They have become a very undiverse party, and they claim to have the monopoly on diversity because they've almost got no white people left. And they like that. They think white people make things undiverse. We don't think that. We think that whatever your color, you have a right to contribute to the best of your ability to your country and to your party. And we're not excluding anybody because they happen to have more or less melanin, as the case may be. That's the first part of the answer to your question. The second part is this. If we permanently think of people as representatives of racial categories, as no more than their biology, then we will never have a democracy in South Africa. Ideally, what we need to do in South Africa is become a country in which people group together and stand together for certain things because they have the same values and the same vision and the same principles and the same aspirations for their country and their children. And that isn't a function of color. I think the vast majority of South Africans believe that we need to have an economy that can include everybody and that we have a country that can beat poverty. And no matter what your color is, you would mobilize behind a party that you think has good policies in that regard. I think that the vast majority of South Africans believe that every child deserves an excellent education. And we should be able to take choices around which policies of which party is going to take us further to that goal. So I disagree with the notion that white people will only vote for white people and that black people will only vote for black people. Because if that is true, JJ, then we might as well pack up any hope of having a democracy in South Africa.
And all go home. I want to talk about that straight after the break, because Helen Mashaba raises an issue exactly in the line that you are raising, that it seems that there are people who don't want to see race as a thing to be dealt with as part of redress. And after the break, I want you to tell me how then, given what you are saying, should redress be approached by the Democratic Alliance and South Africa in general going forward. We're talking to Helen Zille. If you want to, of course, talk to us or WhatsApp, you can WhatsApp on the number on your screen. You can also send us your tweets at JJ Tabane at Newsroom 405. We're on hashtag Your View on 405. After the break, we carry on with that frank talk with Helen Zille. Stay tuned.